For today's guest, we have someone that's been on every spectrum of pro ball, from being a player to now being a coach. A Pittsburgh native who grew up in Butler, PA, played his high school ball at Mount Lebanon, and is now our bench coach with our very own Pittsburgh Pirates, Donnie Kelly. Donnie, how are you?
Doing great, guys. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for coming on, Donnie.
Yeah,
Thanks
absolutely.
for having me.
No, yeah, we're happy to get you on, especially being a local guy, being able to represent the Pirates out here and talk some baseball. We'll get right into it with somebody like yourself who grew up in Pittsburgh, being able to play baseball through high school, pursuing college, and pursuing professional baseball. My question for you was, at a young age, was playing professional baseball or coaching professional baseball your dream job? Because for myself, playing professional baseball was my dream job. I know Ryan was on the same side, and you're someone who was able to play for his hometown and now being able to coach your hometown. So are you living your dream job currently?
I am, man. I got to live my dream job. I think that any kid that plays Little League, we are all in the backyard at times, and Game 7 of the World Series, and to be up there and to do it for your hometown team. And it was awesome to make my debut with the Pirates back in 2007, and now to be back here as a bench coach. Spring training was going really well there, and unfortunately had to shut it down just like everybody else. But yeah, I really am. It's been humbling to get back here in this role with the Pirates.
Right. I couldn't agree more, man. You have a lot of Pittsburgh ties, and before I keep going, we got to give you a shout out for that background, because you're a lot more fancy on Zoom than obviously Mick and I are. So it's pretty sweet, by the way.
Oh, thanks. What, sunny day today outside.
Right.
A little sunny picture of PNC.
You're giving us
there
all
you go.
some
That
hope,
was,
man.
you know what? And I think that, like, a lot of players realize how beautiful of a ballpark it is, but sometimes we don't get to experience that. That's from when I was scouting for the Tigers a couple years ago. I got to take that up from the press box, and there's not better ballpark in the league. It's unbelievable. It's a great place to play, and Pittsburgh should be really proud of it.
I couldn't agree more, man. We're sure missing it being here, stuck inside, not down at the park, but soon enough. The question I had for you, so as a player, now coach, and last year being a first base coach for the Astros, very, very successful team, and now bench coach for the Pirates. Kind of tell us a little bit about your roles as a first base coach and now a bench coach, because it's more than just telling a guy to go to second, and it's more than just saying stop or looking for tendencies from pitchers or whatever. So I just wanted to hear a little bit about what goes on.
Yeah, so last year being with Houston and first base coach, it was obviously a great team, a lot of great players, and really had an awesome, fun year there. But my first year as a first base coach, there's a lot of things that go into it. I was in charge of the base running with them, and there's just so many things that you look at tendency-wise. As a first base coach, rarely do you never really send a guy. You'll hold a guy up every once in a while if a ball kicks off of foul territory back in towards the left fielder or hits off the wall real hard and comes back to him. So you may hold a guy every once in a while, but a lot of times, especially for the young players out there, you're going around first base, you really shouldn't have to rely on your first base coach too much. That's
right. Your
decision to make as you go around there. You can, most of the time you have everybody in front of you, you can see the play, and really you should be running for a double every time out of the box and make the outfielder stop you to go back. So
exactly.
A lot of the times, you see the first base coach, a lot of people ask me, what do you say? What do you talk to the guys about whenever you go over there and in between pitches and whatnot? You're just reminding them of situations of, a lot of times we're not putting a lot of stuff on, especially with that team in Houston last year. We stole a little bit, but not too much. You're just reminding them, hey, ball in the dirt right here. Anticipate going to second, reminding them of arms in the outfield, of guys that they can try to exploit, just different situations that are going on. And if you can be the last guy in there, 3-2, make sure that the left-hander goes home, just reminding guys of different little things that, there's 40,000 people screaming,
right,
and your mind's going all over the place as a player. Sometimes, you get caught up in the moment, and, as dealing with big leaguers, the major league players make the same mistakes that little league players make. They just make them less often. They're more consistent and in playing the game. But it's baseball, man, and players are still, even in the big leagues, you're going to make mistakes. It's just learning from it. And now being in the role as a bench coach, really as I guess you would call it assistant manager. If Shelty would get thrown out, I would be the guy that would step in to manage, and really involved in a lot more as far as game prep and that type of stuff goes now, being in the dugout with him and, being a voice to give him suggestions and whatever, and going through different scenarios throughout the game. So really looking forward to this year.
That's awesome, man. I mean, on the first base side of things, you're always holding a stopwatch, and what are some things that you actually look for and, you're going to time? And does it make a huge difference, like if this guy's 1 split second faster home or slower home? Or explain a little bit about the stopwatch.
Yeah, it sure does. And it makes, as you're going through and you're doing your pre-series and pre-game scouting, if you will, of looking for tendencies, there's a lot of things that we can pick up on that, some guys their pickoff moves real good, some guys isn't, some guys have a slide step, some guys don't. And really you're looking for combination of the pitcher and the catcher, and how slow the pitcher is to play at a good time to the plate. Slide step is, some guys can be as quick as 1 second, usually 1-1 to 1-2. And then other guys will be, as slow as 1.5, 1.6 when they, when 1.5 seconds to 1.6. So like if you get a guy that's 1.5 seconds and up, those are the guys that you're looking to take advantage of. If a guy is, 1.0 to 1.2, you better be like a Billy Hamilton or, somebody that can really run to be able to steal that bag.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because for someone like myself, where I was more of a speed guy when I played, and I always had in my mind going into the bases where if my first base coach told me this guy was 1-2, 1-3 or up, it's like, okay, I actually have a chance here. And you don't have to be a burner. If you're a slow guy and the guy's got a 1.5, in your head, hey, I might have a chance on this guy. So it's not about the first base coach saying, hey, he's a 1.5, you should go now. It's in your mind, once you get there, have that idea of, I'm ready to go if I hear this is the time he's at.
Great point, Mick. And I think it goes to players understanding who they are, and having an idea of, the type of player that you're going to be and how your speed and it can change too. You can get faster, you can get slower. I know that as I got older, the wheels start falling off and that time has to go up for you to make it. But just understanding who you are as a player and being able to put it into practice, take your practice into the game and be able to take advantage of those situations.
Yeah, makes total sense.
Next question, kind of touching on your playing career. Back a few years ago, someone like yourself who was considered the ultimate utility player, which I don't know the exact stat, but you're probably one of 10 people who actually played every single position in a major league game. Am I correct with that?
You know what? Close. I never did it in one game, which, it was a tough thing. We tried to do it the one year, and going into the playoffs, I was a little nervous about catching. So I didn't want to take a foul ball or something, and you get hurt going into the playoffs or whatever. So I never did it in one game, but I did it over the course of my career.
Course of a career. Okay. So how important is that, of being a utility player, being able to have that adjustability to your manager saying, hey, you can put me here, you can put me here, rather than just saying, hey, I'm a third baseman or I'm a shortstop and that's it?
Well, that's a great question. I think that it's something that as the game has evolved, it's become maybe even more valuable with, I know that we added this year the 26th man, and we're, able to keep an extra guy. But, when we had a 25-man roster, and even this year with 26, the guys that can bounce around, it gives you some flexibility to be able to carry somebody else. If you got a guy that can, cover multiple positions and back them up well, I think that really it was one of the reasons that I was able to stick around in the major leagues for so long, was being able to play multiple positions. And I think it starts with an attitude and a willingness to, do that. And especially when you're in the minor leagues and you're working on getting up to the big leagues, but to be able to do it at multiple positions, it takes a lot of work. BP isn't just a time to go in there and get some swings and then, go and stand in third base or shortstop or wherever it is. You got to make sure you're working at every single position that you might go in at. And I really got into a good routine of figuring out, like, third base was the hardest for me to play, especially when you don't get over there too often. If you're going over there once every week to 10 days. So I had to make sure I got my ground balls at third. And then when you go to the outfield, it's not just standing out there catching balls and throwing them in. You're actually working on getting jumps in BP, doing drop steps, make sure you get your throwing in, because it is different going from the infield to the outfield. So my routine evolved over time, but I really got into a good routine and figured out what I needed to do to keep myself ready.
I love that point, man, especially the BP thing, taking advantage of BP in the field. I remember in college, as you know, Chase was my coach, and he was super about that. Guys, having guys ready at all positions and switching positions, and even the pitchers, just go out there and don't just be a pitcher and stand there. Like, take advantage, field some stuff, do some grounders, whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
No, you never know.
Yeah, and that's
Exactly.
One thing with the preparation aspect, like you were touching on, is you might have to work on the arm angle more over the top that day, a little bit more drop down here, depending on the position you're playing. Because if you're playing outfield that day, you might not need to work on dropping down a little bit more, that slow roller type arm angle, and just really hone in on that over the top. And it just all goes with, like you said, the routine and preparation heading into the game.
No, you're not kidding. And that was a big thing that I had to learn, going from infield where everything was quick and replace your feet, to get to the outfield and allow your legs to carry you through, which really got the length, more of a crow hop type thing, where I couldn't focus on lengthening my arm. I had to focus on lengthening my base and my legs to allow my arm to really play.
Maximize.
100%. Something I wanted to ask, during this, this crazy pandemic time that no one's really ever dealt with before, you being a parent of 3 super athletic young boys under the age of 12, from a professional coach's point of view, what do you have them doing right now? Like, what's your best advice for kids around that age, and even high school kids? Like, go out and hit as much as you can, just get outside. What do you think?
Well, I'll tell you, with my boys, and it's something that, we do whatever they want to do. It's not something that I'm dragging them into the garage to hit and, doing all this stuff. If they want to go hit, we've got a net and a tee in there, and we can flip and do all that. If they want to go out and throw, there's times they want to go play football. There's times they want to go play basketball. It varies. And especially at that young age, I think that for kids, make sure your parents know that it's something that you want to do. It's not, we can't force the kids to go do it, because then it's going to become more of a miserable thing where you end up, maybe fighting with your kid or whatever. Like, it's always going to be a tough thing, especially in this game of baseball where, the hardest thing is to put a round bat on a round ball that's moving like it does. So really, I want to make sure that they're the ones that love it. They're the ones that want to go do it. And we've hit, we've thrown, we do all kinds of, we play fun games of, dodgeball and, just all kinds of different athletic things that we can do to, really just increase movements and increase their awareness. And, I think that it's something for the high school kids, just do anything you can to keep your swing sharp, that balance, that your bat path posture is so important. It's things that you can work on, maybe even in the mirror or off of throwing a sock up and hitting it. I saw a thing that Granderson had put together on, sock stuff that he did at home. So just anything you can do to stay sharp.
Absolutely. I think that's being instructors, coaches, Ryan and myself, that's one thing we like to tell our players is the number one rule in this sport is you have to have fun, because as soon as you stop 100%. Having fun, it's like a video game. You stop having fun on a video game, you move on to the next one. If you stop having fun on baseball, your time of playing is going to come to an end quicker than you think. So you got to have fun, number one, and let the game take care of itself.
That's it. Mm-hmm. Couldn't agree more, Mick.
Another question here, just kind of want to ask about the World Series a little bit. So one, just how crazy was that atmosphere going 7 games, and 2, living it in history being how crazy was it that every game was the away team was winning. It was winning. No home team was winning. And it's just like, how is this happening right now? Like, touch on that.
It was nuts, man. It was such an awesome experience for obviously myself, the team, my family, just going through the whole playoffs. And, we go 5 games against the Rays, we go 6 games against the Yankees, and then 7 games against the Nationals. And by the end of it, you're just completely drained. The players were completely drained because the energy is so high. And to have that situation where we lose the first 2 with JV and Cole go down, and you go to Washington down 2 games, and then it was like the completely different emotions, because then you're flying back to Houston up 3 games to 2, and it's baseball. Baseball's such a great game, and it teaches us so much about life and about ups and downs and dealing with failure and dealing with success. And I had a great my first manager in pro ball, Gary Green. He's from Pittsburgh and went to Alderdice. He was first one that told me, he's like, Kelly, you're not going to be as good as you are on your best day, and you're not going to be as bad as you are on your worst. He's like, you're somewhere in the middle, and you got to try to find that consistency throughout it. And I think it's so true of in baseball and in life, like dealing with what we're dealing with right now in this pandemic. It's like, how do we ride this out and try to stay in the middle somewhere? Because it's easy to get down, being quarantined and being at home. Everybody wants to get outside and do stuff, especially baseball players. And I know that kids want to get out there and play. And I feel bad for the seniors this year, across all sports, because they're missing out on their senior year. And, just finding a way to it's not easy to handle that stuff. And, when you're going through baseball and you guys know what it's like to go in a slump. I mean, there's times that you put a ball on a tee and you feel like you're going to swing and miss at that one, or foul that one straight back too, and you sit there and it's like going through the World Series of going down 2 games and then up 3-2 and then ended up losing with 8 outs to go. But what an awesome experience it was to go through, and obviously wish it would have turned out a little bit different, but just learned a lot from going through it.
Yeah, man, I watched every minute of it. I didn't know what way to think each day. Had no idea. And I love your point about just baseball relating kind of to life. My dad actually has a saying, and he put it on a shirt. It's just, baseball prepares you for life, because you fail so much, you have some success, it's kind of like life. You fail a lot, obviously, and you just got to learn to accept it, bounce back. Not going to be your best on your best day, not going to be your worst on your worst day, just like you said. So I love that point. I think it's great for all listeners.
Yeah, it's so true, man. But it's tough to when you are in that slump in baseball, or you give up that big hit or strike out with the bases loaded. It's not easy to go through. I mean, you don't sleep that night. There are times that you're wondering if what you're even doing, or if you're even good enough to play there. But
100%.
It's say hi.
Hi.
What's up, buddy?
Little guy, Luke.
Luke, thanks for hopping on, Luke.
Guest appearance. All right. Well, Donnie, we appreciate you hopping on, being someone
Absolutely.
that was able to learn from you through my professional off season. It's a privilege to have you on, and we look forward to seeing your success now as in a coaching role.
Guys, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, and wish you guys the best going forward, especially with the new baby on the way, Rye.
Thanks,
Hope everyone
man.
stays healthy and safe, and that everything goes well.
Can't appreciate it more.
Thank you, viewers. Thanks for tuning in. God bless.